This wasn't a video I was planning on making, as this isn't a project I have any particular personal investment in. It's just a random story setup idea I'd scribbled down over on the Discord about 2 months ago and then promptly forgot about until just now. I'd never really intended to go anywhere with it. It just popped into my head one day while I was bored, so I decided to come leave it here for the Creative Commons to try their hand on. Unfortunately, this being so rushed means that I don't exactly have a glut of custom illustrations to go along with it, so you'll have to excuse these motley stand-ins I found out in the Generative Commons, also known as Google Images. Now the story's elevator pitch goeth thusly. We're all familiar with the villain who meets his prophesied fate by his own hand while attempting to subvert it. Well, what if the villain actually won? Because he was the one who had written the prophecy all along? Well, I imagined it playing out something like this. Long ago, there was a powerful but peaceful empire whose laws were just and governed by reason, and whose lands were made verdant by their advanced magics and sciences. On the outskirts of this blooming Eden, however, loomed a sinister threat, a demiurge made mighty by his own magitech devices, whose sole aim was to conquer that which he did not possess. However, though his power was vast, he knew he couldn't dominate his foe by brute force. Their empire's walls were too high, their mastery of the physical realm too absolute. But the overlord was cunning, and through long and careful study of his prey had learned that, though the society as a whole was governed by the rigid arbitrations of fact and logic, on an individual basis the members were prone to artistic spurs of delusional fancy, many taking to concocting profound magispheric realms out of imaginative whimsy, some aided by their advanced AI and hologram technology, others content to let their own minds be their playgrounds. For the most part, these playful delusions were just abstract toys and games meant to amuse and delight. But every so often, there emerged a potent mimetic chord, or egregore, whose resonant themes resounded with such vivacity that no form of objectivity could cure it. One such was the notion of the Superman, the angelic hero of legend, the one whose sheer natural exceptionalism put them head and shoulders above all his contemporaries. With some strategic prompting by the Dark Lord's sinister agents, this abstract singularity spawned a whole warp and weft of pretenders and copycats, which, over the generations, abounded across the land and teemed in the minds of all, birthing fanciful tales of men of deeds who could produce wonders with a mere twist of their wills. Two such tales of notable gravitic mass manifested as the prophetic dreams of two old men who, within the sacrosanct vaults of their own personal universes, fancied themselves as clairvoyant magi. Consequently, the one told of a dread lord on the rise, a messianic destroyer of worlds whose very speech could distort and corrupt the fabric of reality around him. The other man spoke of a savior, a predestined chosen one, just like in the old stories everyone was so avidly enamored with by this point. Naturally, this bipolar narrative grew into popular headcanon, which then became a cultural legend, and soon enough its embers bloomed into a full-blown cultish flame, whose devoted adherents now referred to themselves as oracles, whose divine truth was revealed once the overlord at last made his fulgurous presence known. As you might imagine, the advent of a hitherto unknown evil sent shockwaves through the land. The people ran to their science books, to their myths, and to their fantasies, looking for some bit of truth or epistemological lore that would serve to combat this alien threat. But none sufficient for the task emerged, save one. Now, you can probably see where this is going. In their mad rush to avert what seemed the inevitable doom of everything they'd ever known, the formerly well-reasoned people set about searching for their prophesied messiah. Eventually, one was produced from some small town, from unknown parents, just as was always done in the old stories. The boy was trained up through manhood, taught his role, given the best arms and armor his technologically wealthy, but by that point thoroughly deranged, kingdom could proffer and sent out at the head of a massive, though woefully underprepared host, with all involved so full of the belief that all would go according to prophecy, that it nearly failed to register when their chosen 1 inch met the overlord's armies and fell to a ravaging wall of gunfire with the first 30 seconds of the battle commencing. Such was the panic and disarray caused by this utterly foreseeable turn of events that conquering the bulk of the once indomitable empire was, for the overlord, only a matter of scattering what few remaining pockets of sensible soldiery were left, most of which surrounded the governing palaces and libraries. And from there, the story proper would commence. And that's as far as I got with it. Like I said, this wasn't so much a burning thought piece as it was a spur-of-the-moment bout of creative entrepreneurship. If you've a creative spark to share, leave it down in the comments of come on over to the Discord. Or if you simply like where my head is at in general, then consider subscribing to the channel and all that other jazz for more of its kind in the future. And as always, now more than ever, until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and remember, you're only as powerless as you make yourself. Peace.